the gnawing sensation in your gut, the way your shoulders tense, the subtle clenching of your jaw. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's that familiar, insidious, creeping dread that starts before your feet even hit the floor, a phantom weight pressing down, anticipating the day's onslaught. A man wakes, the alarm a jarring intrusion, and already the mental reels begin to spin, the looming deadlines, the email inbox overflowing with demands, the passive-aggressive colleague, the unending stream of minor irritations that conspire to chip away at his composure. He feels it, a deep-seated frustration with the relentless tide of external forces that seem determined to dictate his inner state, eroding his peace before he's even had his first cup of coffee. Consider the scene. He steps into the office, a fortress of fluorescent lights and hushed anxieties. A colleague delivers a snide remark, a thinly veiled jab at his efforts, perhaps a casual dismissal of his hard work. The immediate visceral reaction is a surge of heat, a tightening in the chest, the automatic impulse to retort, to defend, to lash out. His mind races, crafting the perfect, cutting comeback, replaying the scenario, dissecting the perceived insult. He feels the unfairness of it all, the injustice, the sheer audacity. And in that moment, his focus narrows, consumed by the perceived disrespect, by the desire to regain control over a situation that feels entirely out of his hands. He walks away, but the encounter lingers, a bitter aftertaste, polluting his thoughts, hijacking his productivity, stealing his serenity for hours, perhaps even days. Or perhaps it's the constant hum of uncertainty in the world, outside his immediate sphere. The headlines scream, the markets fluctuate, the social currents shift violently, and a man finds himself caught in the maelstrom of information, feeling helpless, insignificant against the backdrop of global chaos. He spends precious mental energy worrying about outcomes he cannot influence, fretting over decisions made in distant boardrooms, or agonizing over the unpredictable whims of fate. The illusion of control becomes a heavy burden, a Sisyphean task of trying to steady a world that refuses to be tamed by his will. He yearns for a quiet mind, a sense of stability, a refuge from the relentless external pressures, yet he finds himself perpetually tossed and turned by every passing breeze. He observes others, seemingly unshaken, navigating the same storms with an uncanny calm. What is their secret? How do they remain so impervious to the slings and arrows that pierce his own defenses? He sees a man gracefully deflect criticism, not with indifference, but with a quiet strength, a subtle shift in perspective that disarms the aggressor and preserves his own inner equilibrium. He witnesses another face unexpected adversity, a sudden setback that would send most spiraling. Yet this man simply adjusts, adapts, and moves forward with a quiet resolve. The contrast is stark, almost maddening. He desires that same unshakable core, that same unwavering composure, but the path to achieving it seems shrouded in mystery, hidden behind a wall of instinctive reactions and ingrained habits. This isn't about ignoring problems or pretending they don't exist. It's not about becoming a detached, emotionless automaton. It's about something far more profound, a fundamental reorientation of where true power resides. It's about recognizing the profound futility of attempting to mold the world to our desires, of constantly chasing external validation, of allowing our inner peace to be held hostage by the unpredictable theater of life. The challenge is clear. How does one cultivate an unassailable inner fortress, a sanctuary of the mind, when the world outside is constantly bombarding it with noise, demands, and provocations? How does a man learn to navigate the turbulent waters of existence, not by desperately trying to control the waves, but by mastering the ship he commands? His own mind, his own reactions, his own precious, finite attention. This journey, this quest for an inner calm amidst the chaos, is not merely an aspiration. It is the essential work of a life well lived, a path towards a freedom that no external force can ever truly diminish. A phone call, an offhand comment from a partner or friend, not meant maliciously, yet it lands with an unexpected sting. Perhaps it is a casual dismissal of an idea, a forgotten promise, or a perceived lack of appreciation for an effort made. The initial impact is not a surge of anger, but a quiet hurt, a sense of being misunderstood, a subtle crack in the foundation of trust or intimacy. This isn't the direct confrontational energy of the office. It's more subtle, more intimate, and therefore often more disarming in its ability to penetrate one's defenses. The man finds himself replaying the words, searching for hidden meanings, dissecting the tone, allowing a small seed of doubt or resentment to take root. He doesn't explode. He withdraws, allowing the unspoken disappointment to fester, creating a quiet distance where none existed before, a slow poison creeping into his peace. Now, consider how this applies when the world itself seems to conspire against efficiency, presenting obstacles that are impersonal yet profoundly frustrating. Imagine grappling with a malfunctioning piece of technology crucial for a task, or navigating an opaque bureaucratic system designed more for obstruction than assistance. The internet connection drops during a critical video call, severing vital communication. The automated phone system loops endlessly, refusing to connect to a human despite urgent needs. A long-anticipated delivery is inexplicably delayed, throwing carefully laid plans into disarray. These aren't personal attacks, but they evoke a profound sense of powerlessness, a frustration born from the sheer inefficiency and indifference of systems. The man feels his patience fraying, his mental reserves depleting as he battles against these impersonal forces of modern life, each minor skirmish leaving him more depleted than the last. Furthermore, a more insidious adversary frequently emerges from within, independent of any external provocation. Long after external stresses have subsided, a man can find himself locked in a silent struggle against his own internal critic. He second-guesses decisions, rehashes past mistakes, or anticipates future failures with an almost obsessive intensity, fueling a constant undercurrent of anxiety. This isn't about external judgment. It's the relentless self-scrutiny, the feeling of not being enough, of constantly falling short of an imagined ideal. He finds his thoughts spiraling into unproductive rumination, a self-inflicted torment that drains energy and undermines confidence far more effectively than any external challenge. The battle here is against the narratives he constructs in his own mind, the stories he tells himself about his inadequacies, which often become more real than any objective truth. This internal barrage, moreover, is often compounded by the temptation to escape, to numb the discomfort rather than confront it directly. He might instinctively reach for the phone, scrolling mindlessly through feeds, seeking a temporary distraction from the gnawing unease. Perhaps he finds himself overindulging in food, drink, or entertainment, chasing fleeting moments of pleasure to drown out the persistent hum of dissatisfaction. These coping mechanisms, while offering momentary respite, ultimately deepen the challenge, creating a cycle where the initial discomfort is merely postponed, returning with renewed vigor once the distraction fades. The mind, instead of processing and addressing the root cause, learns to flee, building a habit of avoidance that prevents genuine resolution and perpetuates a state of simmering unrest. Consequently, the initial ripple of discomfort from any of these encounters, the relational slight, the systemic inefficiency, the internal judgment, the fleeting escape, can quickly expand into a pervasive state of restlessness. Sleep becomes elusive, the mind replaying perceived slights or unresolved issues long into the night, denying the body its essential restorative peace. Concentration at work or during personal pursuits diminishes, attention fragmented by the lingering echoes of past frustrations or the anticipation of future ones. He might notice a persistent tension in his shoulders, a dull ache in his temples, or a general sense of low-grade fatigue that no amount of rest seems to alleviate. The cumulative effect of these seemingly disparate conflicts is a slow erosion of vital energy, leaving him feeling perpetually on edge, reactive, and far from the grounded calm he instinctively craves. The world, in essence, becomes a series of subtle triggers, each pulling him further from his emotional center, a ship adrift without anchor. The preceding narrative has painted a vivid picture of the relentless currents that tug at a man's composure, the myriad ways in which the external world and his own internal landscape conspire to disrupt his equilibrium. We've traced subtle incursions, from overt challenges testing immediate resolve, to quiet, persistent erosions wearing down the spirit over time. It's a tapestry woven with threads of frustration, disappointment, and the unseen battles waged within the mind. The weight of these experiences, disparate as they may seem, converges into a singular truth: the profound vulnerability of our inner peace when tethered to an unpredictable world. This constant state of reaction, perpetually on the defensive, exacts a heavy toll, leaving one feeling stretched thin, chasing a fleeting calm always just beyond reach. Reflecting on this journey so far, one observes the intricate dance between our inherent desire for mastery and the often illusory nature of external control. We instinctively reach outwards, attempting to reorder chaos, to silence noise, to smooth the rough edges of an existence that stubbornly refuses to conform. This persistent outward orientation, while understandable, often leads to deeper entanglement, tightening the knot rather than unraveling it. It's akin to a sailor meticulously adjusting sails, believing every gust and swell can be perfectly tamed, only to find the ocean's vastness indifferent to his efforts. The energy expended in this ceaseless struggle against the inevitable is immense, diverting vital resources from where they might truly yield enduring benefit. What emerges from these varied encounters, from microaggressions to grander uncertainties, is a discernible pattern, a recurring cycle of provocation and response that often leaves us diminished. The true adversary, it seems, is not merely the external event, but the deeply ingrained habit of allowing these events to dictate our internal climate. This isn't about the absence of challenge. Challenges are inherent. Rather, it's about silent acquiescence to their power over our emotional landscape, the unconscious surrender of agency in the face of perceived affronts or systemic inefficiencies. The temptation to let external ripples become internal tsunamis is ever present, demanding a different vigilance, a shift in focus from the tempest outside to the steadfastness within. Drawing these strands together, we begin to perceive a different horizon, one where ceaseless striving against the unchangeable gives way to a more profound, sustainable strength. The recognition of where true influence lies, not in bending the world to our will, but in shaping our own internal response to its unyielding nature, marks a pivotal conceptual shift. It's an awakening to the realization that while external currents persist, The course of our inner vessel is ultimately determined by the hand holding the helm, by the clarity of the vision guiding it. This burgeoning awareness suggests genuine calm is not found in the cessation of all storms, but in cultivating an unshakable core that can weather them with grace and resilience. The implications are transformative, pointing towards a liberation from circumstances' tyranny. As we pivot towards the deeper implications of these insights, the path forward delineates itself with greater clarity. It's a journey not of avoidance, but of profound engagement, a cultivation of an internal architecture, robust enough to withstand modern existence's ceaseless pressures. The questions that linger are no longer about controlling the uncontrollable, but rather mastering the singular domain that is truly ours. This shift in perspective, this nascent understanding of where authentic power resides, serves as the crucible for a new kind of strength, a quiet revolution of the self. It promises not an end to life's inevitable trials, but a fundamental alteration in how one meets them, transforming what once felt like an endless battle into an opportunity for profound self-mastery. The journey we have undertaken, from the fraying edges of external chaos to the quiet center of internal command, culminates not in a destination, but in a profound revelation. It is the realization that the true battleground for peace and power is not found in the relentless struggle against the world's unpredictable currents, but within the sacred, sovereign space of our own minds. This understanding shifts the very axis of our existence, transforming us from passive recipients of circumstance into active architects of our inner landscape. No longer are we mere ships tossed by every storm. We become the steadfast captains, charting a course with deliberate intention, regardless of the tempest's fury. This cultivated inner calm is not a retreat from the world, nor is it a denial of emotion. It is, rather, a conscious and courageous engagement with reality, stripped of the illusion that we can dictate every outcome. It is the profound acceptance that while the waves of life will always rise and fall, our response to them remains unequivocally our own. This is where the enduring wisdom of the ages, particularly the insights of those like Epictetus, finds its timeless resonance. The distinction between what is within our control and what is not. To embrace this distinction is to unlock a profound freedom, to sever the chains that bind our contentment to the fickle fortunes of the external world. It is to recognize that the only true and lasting empire we can ever hope to govern is the empire of our own thoughts, our own judgments, our own actions. Imagine a man who has truly internalized this principle. When confronted with disrespect, he does not feel the automatic rush of anger, for he knows the other's words are merely sounds, and their intent is beyond his control. His power lies not in silencing them, but in refusing to allow their venom to corrupt his own peace. When faced with systemic inefficiency, he does not descend into a spiral of frustration, but calmly assesses what he can do and releases the need to control what he cannot. His energy is conserved, redirected towards effective action or serene acceptance, rather than squandered on fruitless indignation. When his own internal critic raises its voice, he hears it, acknowledges it, but chooses not to identify with its relentless judgment. He understands it is merely a thought, not a decree, and he possesses the agency to let it pass like a cloud across the sky. This profound shift isn't about becoming impassive. It's about becoming impregnable. It's about cultivating a resilience that allows a man to experience the full spectrum of life, its joys and its sorrows, its triumphs and its trials, without being utterly consumed by them. It's the ability to find a quiet anchor within, even when the world outside is in upheaval. This is the true power, the deep, abiding strength that arises from self-mastery. The capacity to maintain clarity of purpose, integrity of character, and an unwavering sense of inner tranquility, irrespective of the external theater. It's the ultimate form of self-possession, a profound declaration of sovereignty over one's own spirit. The true practice begins now, not in some distant future, but in the immediacy of this very moment. It unfolds in every conscious choice to pause before reacting, in every deliberate act of distinguishing between what you can influence and what you must simply accept. It is a daily commitment to tending to your internal garden, cultivating resilience, pruning away the weeds of unchecked emotion, and nurturing the blooms of wisdom and equanimity. This isn't a passive philosophy. It is an active, ongoing engagement with the self, a continuous refinement of awareness and intention. Embrace this discipline, and you will discover not merely a way to keep calm, but a pathway to an unshakable inner freedom, a life lived with profound purpose, clarity, and an enduring self-generated peace that no external force can ever truly diminish. The ultimate mastery is not over the world, but over the self, and in that mastery lies the most profound and lasting power a man can ever know.